to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any questions? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the next item is finance. It's fiscal year 25 June financial statements.
All right, good evening, board. I bring to you tonight the June financials. As a reminder, the June 24th meeting, we did not bring the financials. I am showing the 25 items of interest, and we'll do a high-level overview. So the concluding revenue for the month of June was $29,204,427. The expenditures for salaries and benefits was 75.7% of the expenditures for the month of June. We saw a decrease in the budget for purchase services, supplies, and capital outlay. A lot of that information will be shared during the budget amendment conversation. The operating expenses are comparable to the fiscal year 24, and barring no additional changes for ASBR and the audit from KEB, our projected ending fund balance is 40.5%. At this time, I welcome any questions you have regarding the June financials.
Anyone have any questions? All right. Next is fiscal year 25 final budget amendment. Hey, Brian, we can hear a lot of background noise there. I don't know. Okay.
Me too.
Thank you. All right.
So this item is not on the board document. Seeing that I am presenting this item, it's helpful for me to actually have an overview of what's being presented, and it's helpful for me to synthesize the information that's being provided. I will provide this information to Kat to include on the board agenda for access by the community. So just to kind of reiterate why we're here, the initial board meeting that took place to approve the budget was on June 24th. We still had 6 days during the fiscal year, and we had to pay bills and things of that nature. So this particular item here is just outline changes that occur from the June 24th to the June 30 meeting to actualize the budget. This aligns with MSIP 6L4 standard, which is managing school operations and resources. It also aligns to our budget directive as well as our strategic plan. So just looking here at the reconciled actuals from, again, June 24th to June 30th, the budget amendment that you are reviewing reflects 100% of the revenue and expenditures pending ASBR and audit adjustments. So currently we are in the process of going through an audit, and the ASBR report is due to the state on August 15th. If you looked at the budget adjustment, there was an increase in revenue compared to the previous fiscal year due to insurance recovery from the flood at the elementary school, interest income. We had several grants that the district acquired. We had an increase in delinquent tax collections, as well as additional funds from merchant and manufacturing surcharge receipts of funds. The revenue, there was a revenue increase of $1,030,094, which was a combination of the bond premium that was received and then also the earned interest on that. So because we had so many individuals interested in purchasing our bonds, we were able to acquire premium funds from the sales. We had decreases in the expenditures category from the June 24th to the 30th budget. Purchase services, supplies, and capital outlay all were a decrease from what was previously presented. In addition, you might have noted that there was a decrease or underspending in the personnel line item. This was due to vacancies, unfilled positions, and lower than expected usage of stipends. So some of the positions which were eliminated as we presented the budget actually weren't reflected, so those were savings for us from the standpoint of salaries and benefits. There was an increase in substitute teacher costs, and that actually showed an increase even though there was a decrease from the previous year, but that was an increase in purchase services because sub costs increased due to overuse. And again, I noted before, the ending fund balance, barring no changes from ASBR in the audit, should end at 40.5%, which is higher than what was reported at the second amendment presented to the board back in February with the ending fund balance of 33.9%. The next steps, administration will continue to monitor revenue and expenditures across all funds every month. This occurs with my monthly meetings with departments and also buildings where we review their budgets and expenditures, and then also continuing to monitor fund use, underutilized funds, and we do mid-year reconciliations where we transfer funds that are not used into the contingency account. And last but not least, collaborate with the auditors to complete the fiscal year 25 audit, which will be utilized to submit in the ASBR report for August 15th. That's a brief overview of the budget amendment to bring the 25 budget to actuals. I welcome any questions the board may have.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, well, thank you. Next, we have action items. The first item is board policy batch 2024A. May I get a motion?
Motion to approve policy batch 2024A as presented.
Second.
Okay, any questions, discussion?
I really don't understand why we're doing this artificial intelligence one. The technology is changing very rapidly. I feel like it's covered by other policies. I don't understand why we would approve a policy that we really don't even understand.
So this policy is recommended by MSBA. I did put a response in the board document outlining why this policy is being brought about, as well as linking in the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's response to the need for AI policy.
So what are sort of the highlights? I'm sorry, I had to have a chance to read it. Do you know what sort of their basic argument is for it? 'Cause this, I believe, is a policy designed at, it's the idea that if staff, is it applied to staff, but then they will then go on and make one for students too, and it's the idea that when you input stuff into AI, you can't put personal information in there because that's a violation of the law.
It is. It also outlines how artificial intelligence can be used by students and staff as well.
It does also call us to create an AI use plan that will then be revised regularly and communicate with our community how artificial intelligence is used within the school day and within the classroom experience.
Do we have any examples of use currently?
Most people that I interact with are using ChatGPT or Gemini because both of them help people refine their emails. They both help them plan and break down large projects into small pieces. Oftentimes, even in email, you notice how the word kind of auto-completes itself if you're ever working on your device. That actually technically is artificial intelligence creating that. So whether we know we're using autocomplete or not on our phones, that is actually a piece that we want to make sure we know, that the community knows that is sort of built into our Google Workspace.
Would like to also add, it's used for differentiation, so you can put your standards, your lesson, any other information in and say, develop reteaching for students who are on grade level, those that need enrichment and things of that nature, and it decreases the amount of time a teacher actually has to use to prepare and plan for that. So there are many uses for it. For me, from the instructional standpoint, to help with planning and also looking at how to augment lessons for students who may need some remediation or acceleration is the best use for it.
I think that brings up an excellent point. You don't really know if you're using AI at this point. And so having a policy to describe when and when you're not using it, if you don't know you're using it, that just opens you up to all sorts of problems. People coming and saying, well, you were using AI, and they can say, well, I didn't know I was using AI. I think this is a premature policy to have going. I would move that we table this for a later discussion and in consideration.
Is there a second?
Well, I think that the concern that I have about, and again, would the plan that is going to be implemented, is that something that the board has to approve, or is that just a lower level function?
That'll just be a administrative procedure that we carry out based on this policy.
That will also include how students can use AI. So the first step would be to approve a policy so that we can develop the plan, which will outline those pieces for student use as well as staff use.
I mean, I think that the bigger concern, or the biggest concern I have about AI abuse is obviously, academic integrity, and, concerns that it is, people are running before they learn to walk, that takes them out of the research process or those skills that they need to actually find the information. So I think it is important to have an underlying policy. Is it possible that we can just say, y'all go do that without having this, this particular, without having a board resolution, but just having the administration go ahead and find their own policy? I mean,
I think we already have policies around academic integrity. They're usually promulgated by the classroom teacher. This is a fine-edged sword here where we kind of want our students to use AI, because if they don't use AI, or if they're tripping over a policy to use AI, then they're not going to learn it. And at this, we want them to learn it. At the same time, we want them to learn it judiciously. And that's what you're talking about. And I think that that's best, dealt with in the classroom and talking about it, and having to consult a policy to decide whether or not you can do something or not do something. I do not think this policy is mature.
Well, so I guess one concern I have when I'm looking at this right now, there's a line that says students and employees may be disciplined and employees may be terminated for AI use that violates this policy or any related policy or procedure. But I feel like we're when I originally read this policy last time, what it seemed like to me was the focus of data and not inputting data, but then we're also saying its point is to do other things. So I guess I'm a little confused. What exactly is this policy saying? Is it saying you can't use it? You can, but there are that's where I'm a little confused. If you could be terminated for violating it, and to the point, you may not know you're using it. How does that work? I guess I'm a little.
Well, I guess to really kind of boil it down to its common denominator, and it's really akin to what Trent was saying, is is this redundant? Is this something that hinders rather than helps? You already have policies about actually, one of the dangers of AI, and it's actually kind of funny because, well, not funny, but it, as it sort of intersects with my work, there have been a number of cases where lawyers have relied on AI to file briefs, and you can get in a lot of trouble for doing that. So, conversely, if a teacher or a administrator or whatever is improperly using the AI, there probably already are guardrails about, hey, you're providing inaccurate information. So is this something that is going to hamstring the ability to use the technology, or is it something that is necessary to protect the learning environment? I think that's the question.
do we know how this because it does say at the end too.
I mean, confidential data information, critical data information, I mean, these things are already regulated. You can't input confidential information into anything, you shouldn't be.
Well, I guess my question is, it says this policy is intended to add to and not limit or replace other applicable board policies, regulations, so like what do we have in place and how is this different? I guess, do we have a?
So we do not have an AI policy at all.
At all.
And I will say that this policy is not to limit students' use for AI. They currently use it. I think the plan from the student's standpoint would actually detail out how specifically it can be used. So we're not at that point yet. We do need to approve a policy in order to work through the plan and the other pieces that are.
Do we have a policy, do we have a policy for internet, how the internet can be used? Do we have a policy for how a newspaper article can be used? Or conversation with me?
I can look that up and bring that back to the next meeting if you would like for me to do so.
I guess my concern is if this is not the policy, I don't like language in there that says you could be terminated or disciplined for violating this policy if this is not a clear policy. That's the piece I guess I'm having trouble with in here. So.
And I have a trouble with that largely because defining what is the use of AI is unclear, and whether you're using it or not is unclear because we don't really know when we're using AI at this point. So if you can be terminated for it and you didn't even know you were using it, that seems problematic to me.
Especially if I think of some of the autocorrect things that I've created, even on a simple form.
Do you have any idea why the MSBA has recommended this policy? I mean, is there? I mean, I don't know if there's like legislative history or, kind of the equivalent for what their rationale was. Like, hey, we want you to adopt this.
So it's included on the, let me go back to,
It's like 20 pages.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, that's the problem. I don't know.
so the document that was linked is actually DESI's guidance.
Okay.
But for the AI policy, give me one moment. At the top of MSBA policy, it outlines why the policies are coming forward. So let me.
I have an AI overview of why the MSBA is.
So it's I have it on the screen for.
I mean, I'm
Correct,
sorry
yeah,
I asked the
right.
question. I should have. I can look it up on my own. It's fine.
Well, so I guess that begs the question, do we want to have some more time to think about this and understand it better? Is that what instead of doing it right now live?
It just doesn't seem pressing, honestly.
All right. I mean, it makes, okay. So, Trent, you made a motion.
Made a motion to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? All right, so we'll
We'll look at it later.
perhaps we could all revisit it and figure out what our specific questions are, because I don't think we provided like a clear guidance.
I think also too it might be helpful to have work backwards if you show us what the plan is to see whether or not you can conform the resolution to what actually the intent of the plan is, if that makes sense.
Got it. Thank you.
And I think to Jenny's point, also kind of providing some clarity on what are the processes or guardrails regarding if a student discipline issue or a employee discipline issue, given that I think we all recognize there's gray areas with AI and different interpretations of what it is and how it might be used. So just trying to ensure that it doesn't become a policy that could be applied in a manner that might be considered unfair.
And maybe how it differentiates. I mean, I'm looking in the policies, technology usage, there's a policy EHB around technology is this is another form of technology. Is there really a gap in this compared to this policy? And it's just another tool. I don't really see how it's different.
So is Skynet.
We don't have a policy.
We don't have policy on Skynet.
All right, anything else? All right, so may I get a motion on K through 8 student learning devices?
I move to approve the Apple lease agreement to purchase iPad devices K8.
Second. All right, any questions or discussion?
I'd like to just, first of all, say thanks for the preparation of this document that has a kind of a Q&A and includes comments from Ms. Rothenberg, and I believe, sort of sourcing some information also from some other teachers. It doesn't totally alleviate my concerns because it's what the document tells us is that teachers will take care to make sure the iPad doesn't dominate the day, but that of course is something that would need to be reiterated on a kind of a regular basis. And of course, I think the teachers now, certainly would be understanding of these concerns because they're being voiced now. But what happens a year from now and 2 years from now with new teachers coming in? I just want to, I guess I'd just like to reiterate, this motion I'm sure is going to pass, but I'll probably, I'm leaning towards voting for it because I do think they're a preferable device to the Chromebook. I certainly have agreed with that from the beginning, but I remain concerned, and I want that to be expressed for the record that these devices can take over the educational environment if they're not, as the document that we were given today suggests, that they're not used in intentional moments in short periods of time under direct teacher supervision. Those were sort of the 3 key items that came in by the end of the document. And so if that can be reiterated on a regular basis, especially to new teachers coming into the district who will have use of these devices in their classrooms, I would be grateful. And I certainly would plan to repeat this message in the future. But the cost is substantial. I think we should be concerned about the cost. We have Chromebooks that still work, and the idea of just wholesale replacing them K through 8, it does concern me that we would out with all the devices at one moment. But I'm going to vote for it, not to hold this up any longer. But I wanted to express that concern while also expressing my thanks to the admin for preparing that Q&A document.
I actually did have one question about this because iPads, they're essentially large cell phones, and with the new policy about banning cell phones, whether or not there's going to be any conflict between that new policy and these types of, you understand what I'm saying?
So the cell phone policy is for student devices and also includes any other personal devices. These are actually on our network, and we control and actually can monitor what students do with the devices.
Gotcha.
The key distinction for Senate Bill 68 is personal communication devices. Now, they have not defined what personal communication devices are yet, but this would not be deemed a personal device. This is a managed device that we're using.
Well, that begs an interesting question. If a kid uses their own computer, could they potentially not be able to use their own?
That came up in the webinar that I watched today.
Lovely. All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments on this one?
Oh, so I do have a comment on kind of to Brian's point. Are there ways to incorporate in, in terms of like your curricular visits and that sort of thing, sort of reinforcing some standards that are age appropriate? I think of when I go to the pediatrician, when I was little and all the way through, and they would say, here's our guideline for how much screen time and how much exercise and different things like that. Are there ways to incorporate that into your rounds?
Yeah, that'll be the work of our blended learning coordinator as we look at how we are integrating technology into our classroom spaces. So yes, that will definitely be a part of the work that we do.
But I mean, I think the point is that they were already using devices. These are just a different format, right? So I think there's probably already some of that place because they already are using devices. And the idea is that this is an easier device for smaller children to use, is the way I understood it. But it doesn't hurt to remind. All right, so any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, last we have, may I get a motion on the final budget amendment?
Motion to approve fiscal year 2025 budget amendment as presented.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments or discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, next may I get a motion to enter executive session?
I move to enter executive session in accordance with sections 610.021 subsections 1, 3, 9, 13, and section 610.022 of the revised statutes of Missouri on July 17, 2026 for the following specific reasons: legal matters and personal matters.
Okay, may I get a roll call vote, please?
Second. Do we need a second?
Oh, yes, second.